Oh, this is bad.
Sly Cooper, he's one cunning, devious, Thievous Racoonus. Rated E for everyone.
Give me 1 second, folks. It doesn't look like the stream is starting. There it goes. Alright. Okay, so... Good evening, folks. Hope you all had a good work week. And tonight we are playing Sly Cooper and the Thievous Racoonus. This game was released in 2002, I want to say, and was created by Sucker Punch Productions. At the time, Sucker Punch was really only known for one game, which was the little-known N64 platformer Rocket Robot on Wheels. Rocket received widespread critical acclaim when it was released, but it was unfortunately a retail flop when it came out, which was a very big deal for Sucker Punch because outside of just being a new studio with a lot to prove, making games for the N64 was very costly, so if your game didn't do well, you lost a lot more money than you otherwise would. So they had another game in the pipeline, which was to be a stealth platformer hybrid. So in order to keep the game in production, they went to Sony and offered them a deal where if they gave them some money to keep production going, they would make the game exclusive to the PS2, which was on the rise at the time. Sony agreed probably because Rocket did really well with the critics, and also because Sucker Punch wasn't asking for a whole lot of money to finish the game, so that was a pretty safe bet. And it ended up being a very good bet too, because while Sly wasn't a huge seller, it still sold moderately well. And because of how low production cost was, it was kind of hard not to make any profit on it. It also helped that the game just received widespread critical acclaim and is still considered one of the iconic games for the PlayStation 2, right up there with Ratchet & Clank and Jak and Daxter. And I gotta tell you, I love this franchise. Sly Cooper is one of my favorites. I still remember catching a glimpse of it for the first time. I think it was on Toonami. They always did sweepstakes for the games when they were making the rounds. And even though I was strictly a Nintendo kid in those days, if there was one game series that really made me regret getting a GameCube instead of a PS2, it was definitely Sly Cooper. So I took every chance I could take to play the games. And when me and my brother finally got a PS3, one of the first games I got was the Sly Collection, which actually ends up being a pretty good segue into getting the game going. So that's actually the version of the game we're going to be playing, the PS3 version by Senjaru Games. This is an HD remaster, so they beat the game up to widescreen, smooth out the graphics, and basically just do a little bit of touch-up. There are some sound issues, which becomes a real big problem when you get to one of the boss fights. But for the most part, I do consider this to be the definitive version of the game. The PS2 version is still very common, and it was actually recently re-released on the PS4 and PS5, though that is strictly an emulated version of the game. Why they didn't try to release the PS3 version, I have no idea. I guess they still haven't figured out how to emulate games for the console yet, but whatever. The digital release is just fine. It just doesn't have all the nice bells and whistles that the PS3 version does. All right, let's go ahead and get this started. Really excited to play this game. Been a while since I played Sly. Funny when they had warnings back in the day. A market quality? Not so much. They did work on Sonic Boom. So we're just gonna go straight into the game, but this is just a great collection. This menu is great. You got all the games, and there's even some fun bonus content too. It's getting a little up there in price, but it is definitely worth it. It does take a little bit of time for this game to get going, though, so keep that in mind. But this is just a... I'm really hoping... Ah, there it goes. Setting the tone right away. This is really the game that put Sucker Punch on the map. Paris, France, that's a cool setting. Now, the original PlayStation version, Shadow's character model was a lot darker for this version, for this part, but they brightened it up for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but, I mean, you still get the same effect overall. I haven't been playing the PS4 version lately. Man, this just looks so clean, dude. Like, why would you not take the time to beef this up for the PS5, guys? I mean, and why didn't you announce that you had done that? You had a State of Play earlier this month, and it re-released a few days later. I mean, showcase what's on your console, damn it. Great tile screen, too. Shows off the graphics. Slice character model is great. Graphic design, the logo is beautiful. I'm not a huge fan of the title, the Thievous Racoonus, though. If anything, just because it's something I have a tendency to misspell, and I'm praying I didn't do that in my own title card. Alright, let's go ahead, start a new game. It's not a big deal if I delete my save file because I played this so many times.
Sly! Come in! Sly! Do you read me?
Yeah, I read you. Loud and very loud.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Trying to break into police headquarters does that.
Get over it, Bentley. You're safe in the van. I'm the thief here. I've got to steal that file from Inspector Carmelita Fox.
Well, count on me to be your eyes and ears, buddy. Got their security system totally scoped. To get inside, you're gonna have to go through that air vent.
All right, I'm going in.
And don't forget you got me at the wheel, Sly. All you gotta do is grab the file and get back to the van. We'll do the rest.
Just keep that engine running, Murray. I'll be down in no time.
So yeah, Sly Cooper is taking its influences from a lot of stealth games. So I feel like the Binocucom conversations like that are reference to the Metal Gear series. Okay, so the first thing we talked about are the controls. Sly's control feels really good. How fast you go depends on how far you move the joystick. The jump feels really good, nice double jump. Swinging is responsive. That's about all you can do at this point, but it does feel really good. And again, I gotta comment on the graphics here. Now, the PS3 version does clean everything up, but even on the PlayStation 2, this is a great looking game. They called this style of graphics toon rendering, and the whole idea was for it to look like a 3D cartoon. And Sly is just one of the best examples of it. It's just so beautifully stylized. I love it. Anyway, let's get a move on here. When in doubt, follow the trail of coins.
Hey, Bentley, I think I'm seeing things. Must be vertigo or something. Can you see those crazy blue lights?
Really? I've read about this. Master raccoon thieves are able to sense thieving opportunities, which manifest themselves as unexplainable blue auras. According to my research, all you have to do is get near them and hold down the circle button, and you should perform a super sneaky Master Thief move.
Hold down the circle button near blue auras. I'm on it.
That's a little hokey, but I'll buy it. And I just love Sly's character design too. Like, the colors are great. It's colorful enough, but it's still dark enough to where you'd buy that he could blend into the shadow. And the movement and animation is just fantastic.
Be extra careful here, Sly. Break one of those laser beams and you'll set off the alarms. Not to mention, you'll be fried to a crisp.
Yeah, not a problem.
Nice job, you're in. Inspector Carmelita Fox's office is behind the red door.
That looks like a red door.
That door must be super reinforced, Sly.
I sense a
there's way to
thieving
get
opportunity.
around
I love how when you do the shimmy like that, Sly's feet
Way
make
to go,
footsteps.
Sly.
It's so
This is
great.
where Inspector
The
Carmelita
bump,
Fox
bump,
stashes
bump,
all
bump,
her
bump,
important
bump.
files. I hacked into the police security mainframe and discovered this vault's combo. Try dialing in 937.
You would think that would be something private for Carmelita.
Nice job! You got it! If you come down through the fire escape and head through the parking lot, we'll be waiting in the getaway van.
And of course, what Master Thief wouldn't leave a calling card?
Criminal! You foolish raccoon. I've caught you red-handed.
Ah, Carmelita. I haven't seen you since I gave you the slip in Bombay.
Which reminds me, you need to return the Firestone of India to its rightful owners.
Ah, and I was gonna give it to you as a little token of my... Hey, you know, that bazooka really brings out the color of your eyes. Very fetching.
You think? This pistol packs a paralyzing punch. You ought to try it. Might snap you out of your crime spree.
And give up our little rendezvous?
Plenty of time for that once you're safely behind bars.
Love to stick around and chat, but I just dropped by to pick up this case file. I think you've had it long enough.
I love the dialogue in this game. It's just so well written. The PS2 era is really where voice acting and dialogue was really starting to come into its own in regards to video games. Like back in the PlayStation era, it was always so silly and hokey unless it was something like Metal Gear. Anyway, it's time to make our getaway. Nothing to it.
You can't escape me, raccoon!
What did I just do, Toots?
Once again, my gang and I had given Inspector Carmelita Fox the slip. I was surprised to see how well she took it. Finally, the secret police file I'd been searching for all these years. With this, I could avenge my family and regain possession of our most valued treasure. It all began when I was just a kid, bouncing on my father's knee. You see, I come from a long line of master thieves who kept all their secrets of sneaking and stealing in an ancient book. The Thievous Racoonus. Anyone who read it learned to be especially sneaky, which is why we specialized in stealing from criminals. After all, there's no honor, no challenge, no fun stealing from ordinary people. You rip off a master criminal, and you know you're a master thief. Well, on the night I was supposed to inherit the book, 5 visitors came unannounced to our door. My father fought to protect us, but the gang of villains known as the Fiendish Five overpowered him and ransacked our house until they found the Thievous Racoonus. Our family's manual of thieving greatness fell into their filthy hands. They tore the book into 5 pieces and split it up, each villain disappearing to the farthest corners of the world to commit dastardly crimes. Broken alone, I was dumped at the town orphanage. There I met
I
two
always
guys
wondered
who
who
became my
Sly's
lifelong
mother
buddies
was.
and trusted crew. Bentley, techno genius and strategist supreme, and Murray, part-time driver and full-time burden. Together we pledged to track down the Fiendish Five, avenge my father, and steal back the Thievous Racoonus. I knew I was about to face the toughest test of my life. On this mission, I would either become a master thief like my ancestors before me, or fail and allow my family name to bite the dust.
Okay, so I always talk about a narrative hook in gaming, and this is one of the very best. The opening where you're breaking into Interpol HQ, that's just fantastic. It introduces the characters, establishes the dynamic between them, the banter between Bentley, the flirtatious rendezvous with Sly and Carmelita, and I guess Murray, he's in there too. It shows us the world, Sly's place within it, and establishes the lore behind Sly's family name and sets the stakes for the game at large. A globe-trotting adventure where you're traveling all over the planet in search of these 5 criminals who have taking the Thievous Racoonus from Sly. It's so good. Like, people could always make an argument that Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank were better games than Sly Cooper, but I've always felt that between these three franchises, they each did something really well, specifically. Ratchet and Clank definitely had the best gameplay, Jak and Daxter had the best graphical technology, but Sly Cooper definitely had the best story. Like, of all these three franchises, this is the one that I always remember the most, and for good reason.
That was a nice piece of work back there at police headquarters, Sly. Come see me if you want to check out any of your old movies. I've got them all here on my computer. Use the left analog stick to move around the hideout and the X button to select things. I've already plotted a route to our first target.
Let's hit it.
The road trip gave me the time I needed to study up on Sir Raleigh the Frog. As a young man, this hot-tempered frog grew bored of his life of luxury and privilege. On a whim, he tried his hand at a bit of piracy and found it to his liking.
Degenerate.
Raleigh, who quickly became addicted to crime, was brought into the Fiendish Five as chief machinist, where his evil tinkering genius rose to new heights.
Very strange for a pirate, though.
The last reported sighting of this mad machinist was off the soggy coast of the Isle o' Wrath, a small island uncomfortably situated in the middle of a perilous Welsh triangle.
This is something else I've always really loved about the Sly Cooper series. With most platformers, you tend to have one central bad guy, but in Sly Cooper, you have a series of bad guys that Sly goes up against, with each encounter sort of serving as like its own little episode or issue of the comic book. Over the 4 games, Sly has actually developed quite the rogues gallery, which makes the games all the more memorable in my opinion. After all, a hero's only as good as the villains he faces.
Hey, Sly, I just spotted something that's going to complicate the mission. See that nasty-looking gate? It blocks the only road leading into Raleigh's hideout.
No problem. I'll just use my climb move.
Okay, but remember, you can only climb on certain objects, like pipes and ropes.
Yeah, sure, and like that ladder there?
That is correct, but do not forget, Sly. You have to get close.
Then hit the circle button to grab it. Yeah. Relax, Bentley. I live for this stuff.
Yeah, and that's what worries me.
Such good dialogue. And again, talking about the presentation, one thing that Sly was always famous for was its variety. At the start of the game, we were in Paris, but now we're in Europe somewhere. I can't remember exactly where it said, but every time you face a new boss, you go to a different location. So after this, you'll head to Utah to raid a Las Vegas-style city. You'll go to the Haitian jungle, the mountains in China, and eventually a volcano in Russia. And that's become a trademark of the series. It's like Indiana Jones' globe-trotting adventure. I love it.
Partner. Fortunately for you, I launched these signal repeaters throughout Raleigh's fortress. Get close to one, and I can checkpoint your progress.
Nice.
Okay, so Sly is typically listed as a stealth platformer, though to be honest, I wouldn't really say that's the case. Sly is more of a straight platformer than anything, at least the first game is. While there are some sections of the game where you do need to avoid being spotted, most of the time it's just a straight platformer.
That big blimp is where Raleigh is hiding out.
You know, that blimp looks more like a machine.
Most of the time when you come near an enemy, they'll become aware of you right away, so...
That explains all the wrecked ships.
But why would Raleigh want bad weather at his own hideout 24/7?
Beats me. But rain or shine, I'm gonna steal my family's book back. And if Raleigh gets in my way, it's on.
That's something else I've always really liked about Sly. You don't really think about it because of how often they give Sly the moral high ground, but he actually is something of an anti-hero here. Because when you get down to it, Sly isn't particularly interested in stopping whatever plans these bad guys have. But more often than not, he ends up doing that because his goals to get the better of them often see him going against whatever plan they have. So there's an interesting look at morality here. I really enjoy that. And Sly is still a really likable character too. While he is a thief, he does have a sense of honor. He steals more for the sport of it rather than personal gain, which is why he targets master criminals as opposed to ordinary people. As he said in the opening, it's no fun, there's no honor stealing from ordinary people. But all the criminals he faces throughout the series always are performing unique crimes, and they all have their own methods of challenging Sly, which is great. But as I was saying earlier, like most of the stealth elements in Sly Cooper are a lot like this, you know, just searchlights that you have to dodge, laser grids, and the enemies, as I said, become aware of your presence almost as soon as you get within a certain proximity of them. So there's not really a way around them like in a proper stealth game.
That large vault has got to be somehow related to those clues in bottles you've been collecting. If you can locate all the clues in this area, I should be able to crack the code and get you inside it.
Yeah, so all those clues and bottles, like, if you get all of them in a level, you'll get a page of the Thievous Racoonus, which will expand Sly's moveset. It's good for replay value, but I usually ignore it. And we're still sort of in that phase where we're trying to move away from the Super Mario 64 style of play with 3D platformers. So the treasure keys basically acts like that in this game, though Sly Cooper is very much a linear platformer.
That blimp looks like the most secured location on this boat. If Raleigh's really as
Can you
smart as
really
his
call that a
police file
blimp?
suggests, then that's where I'll find him.
Wonderful idea, but your plan is flawed.
Why?
Because it's impossible to get near him. To access Raleigh's blimp, you would have to sneak through that high-voltage power tube. To do that without getting electrocuted, you'd have to destroy that power generator. And to do that, you'd need 2 more of Raleigh's treasure keys, which are heavily guarded.
Interesting. So when are you gonna get to the impossible part?
Fine, but I warned you. I've marked the areas you need to hit with holographic markers. Follow them to your objectives.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. It's your funeral.
Oh ye of little faith.
Wow, you found a lucky charm. That'll protect you when you take any damage.
Yeah, typically you can only take 1 hit, but with the horseshoes you can take up to 3, so...
I see, chaps. My heartiest congratulations to you all. The storm machine has sunk its 50th ship last night, and the loot has already been unloaded. Our operation is moving along splendidly, with the possible exception being the grouse negligence displayed below decks, and I demand the boilers stay at full pressure at all times. If you lazy, lowbrow, technically incompetent pack of gutter snipes did your jobs right, we'd have sunk 100 ships by now. But of course, 50 boats is a fine, fine achievement. Carry on, my boys, carry on.
Yeah, and as you're breaking into these areas, the guys in charge will come over the loudspeaker and talk like that. And that's just really good with getting you immersed in the situation. Like, it just gives you the sense that you're not supposed to be there, especially as you get further into the levels and they start to tell their crew that there's a prowler lurking around. But yeah, that guy had his back turned to me, but as soon as I got close to him, he turned to me, so... Yeah, there was no way I was going to get around him, so I just had to take him out.
My analysis tells me that if you trace the spinning crankshaft all the way back to its source, you'll find Raleigh's treasure key and sabotage his machine while you're at it.
The level design in this series is also fantastic. With a lot of 3D platformers, you can sort of tell that they were primarily designed for gameplay. They were obstacle courses, and they weren't much more than that. But with Sly Cooper, while you can still tell that they are obstacles, they do feel a little more organic. They actually do feel like real places with real purpose, which, again, just really gets you immersed in the world. You feel like you're making your way through these levels in a way that you were never supposed to, which is great. And just all the different ways you move through the levels, like bouncing off these lids right here. Like, the game is constantly mixing that up. It's so much fun, and Sly is just so satisfying to control. I remember when I first played that this part gave me so much trouble. I would just try to run straight through there instead of timing it. Mostly because I couldn't see that there was a spot that marks where these paddles actually will connect. And I just collected 100 coins, which gave me another horseshoe, so now my health is basically full. And every time I collect 100 coins from now on, I'll get a 1-up. So it's very old school in that way. Though, to be honest, it's kind of superfluous because Sly is a game that is typically regarded as pretty easy, all things considered. It's not so easy to where it's brain dead. Like, every time I have one of my friends play this, they do express difficulty with it. But like, the fact that it's easy, I don't think is really that big a detriment, because it's just so satisfying to play. A lot of people don't seem to realize that it's okay if a game is easy as long as it's fun to play, and Sly is just really fun to play. Like, it's just a great feeling flying through the air, dodging security measures like that. It makes you feel like a master thief. It's so much fun. The sound design is great. I've already talked about the voice acting, but just the sound of picking up those coins is so satisfying too. That nice crunchy metallic sound. One little detail I really like is that in each of the levels, the marking on the coin changes as well. Just a fun little detail that really makes the world feel a lot bigger than it is. Like, in a platformer, one of the worst things you can do, in my opinion, is just have flat level design, and that is just never an issue in Sly Cooper. Nothing to it. And I do like the comic book style cutscenes in this game too, though they do look like they are one draft behind. Thankfully for the sequels, they were refined the look even more. It just kind of feels like they took the game out of the oven a little too soon in regards to how it looks. The PAL versions of the game actually have a completely different set of cutscenes. They have more of an anime aesthetic, I think. Fun fact, in Europe, Sly Cooper is actually called Sly the Raccoon because apparently Cooper is some kind of curse over there. I don't really understand that, but, you know, that's a European difference.
And you know what that means? Tighter security.
Oop, didn't mean to do that.
Extra sneaky to get the treasure key here.
I was just thinking I should probably show you guys what happens if I trip one of these wires. So basically that sets off the alarm. And if you break one of the beams again, you get fried. There's a part that always gets a beginner. Thankfully, I saw it coming. Not my first rodeo. Look at these guys. Yeah, that's a great idea. Go and belly flop on the raccoon. So stupid. No problem, just gotta hop across. Hey there, Gare, how about some leapfrog? Like, I always determine how good the controls are in a platformer based on how precisely you can hop across platforms like that. So just the fact that I was able to do that so easily should be an indication of how tight the control in this game is. And part of the reason Sly is so much fun to control is just due to the animation. It just feels so natural and lifelike. And again, he's moving in a variety of ways too. It's similar to what I'm always talking about with Sonic games, just the general movement and flow of the game. It's just brilliant in Sly. About halfway through the stream now.
Sly, see that machine wheel? If my knowledge of mechanical engineering serves me right, applying significant rotational torque to achieve maximum velocity will yield a positive result.
You mean something good might happen if I can get the wheel to spin fast enough?
Isn't that what I just said?
You know, I've been talking to this girl on a dating app recently, and she's a scientist, and she tells me that scientists typically don't use scientific jargon like that in the workplace. They prefer much simpler stuff. Like, that's a common cliche in most works of media. Science types are usually depicted as pretty out of touch with the rest of the world, but that's pretty much a stereotype. It's a fun stereotype, and it can be funny like that, but that's not really how people in that kind of field act. And man, the colors in this game are just so good, dude. And I love how colorful the game is, but it's also got a nice dark tone to it because of all the dark shadows as well. It reminds me a lot of Batman the Animated Series, the 2003 iteration of Ninja Turtles, and something like SWAT Cats, which is exactly what they were going for. It just goes to show how well games can hold up if you focus more on art direction and stylization, as opposed to going for photorealism. Now, that's not to say that the graphics in Sly Cooper haven't aged. Some of the character models can look a little noodly, and the original PlayStation version looks a lot blurrier than this, but I would still say Sly Cooper is aging very well visually. This is still a great looking game, almost, what, 20, 30? Yeah, 20 years later. Why are these guys hammering? And these guys are walruses. It's gotta be very uncomfortable working in this kind of environment. Music is pretty good too, all things considering. It's got a fun secret agent vibe to it that I really enjoy. Hold on, folks. It seems I'm getting a phone call. Just want to make sure that's nothing. Prowling the grounds. Okay, where to next? Go this way. Climb up here.
Hey Sly, you can adjust the game camera using the right analog stick. And to bring the camera behind you, click it.
Camera controls in this game are just great too. That just helps with the fluidity. This was really the generation where they really figured out how to use the dual analog setup. You know, this moves, that adjusts the camera, and that just works beautifully.
Those rats got pegged.
Raleigh appears to have booby trapped this entire place.
I enjoy this.
Don't you get it, Sly? If you step on that rug, forget about becoming a master thief. You'll be a master dartboard.
Wait a second. What if I jumped into that barrel for protection?
I don't know. It looks pretty risky and very unsanitary.
Only one way to find out.
So yeah, if you step on that, the darts go off. But honestly, even if you aren't landing on it, like standing, they still go off, so you really do have to use that barrel to get through. Like, the way Sly moves in that barrel is just super humorous. I love it. I just love the presentation in this game. It's so memorable.
So far, so good. I bet if you stayed still inside the barrel, the guard won't be able to see you, even if he shines his flashlight on you.
Yeah, thankfully these guards are stupid. They don't notice the barrel moving around. Gungala! Up. That was BS. I hit you. Yeah, the hit detection can be a little wonky at times. Let's go around the corner here. Mine the furnaces. Yeah, don't mind me, Mr. Squid. At least I think that thing's a squid. Almost there. There's another treasure key. Kaboom! What was that about being impossible, Bentley?
Astonishing! All my calculations led me to believe you had failed to knock out that generator.
Never was good at math.
Well, here's a real test for you. I found a way out to Raleigh's hideout, but unfortunately, it is doomed to failure.
You're not gonna tell me I have to shoot myself out of that cannon.
I'm afraid that's the only way.
Now you're talking.
You're really scaring me, man. Anyway, to get inside that thing, you had to steal all all 7 of Raleigh's treasure keys.
So what are we waiting for? You show me those hollow what's-its?
You mean my holographic markers?
Yeah. And I'll swipe whatever it takes to get shot out of that cannon and steal back my family's Thievous Racoonus.
I just love how into it Sly gets. It's just such a cool customer. Go over here, see if I can get this extra life. Nah, I'll just head on ahead. Only got about 20 minutes left on the stream anyway. That was my grandma calling earlier. She was probably calling to wish me a happy birthday. It's actually my birthday today. That's why I decided to play Sly Cooper. Give myself a little treat. Hope she's still awake when I'm done here. The Gunboat Graveyard. Now, isn't that a great level title?
Ahoy, dog hands! Capital job unloading that cargo last night.
Man, look at this place.
You're the crown jewel of my operation. Do me the service of proving your worth yet again by protecting the treasure key that I have stored down there. It appears there's a prowler on the premises. And if any of you let him get his hands on that key, I'll personally flog the lot of you for an entire fortnight.
So yeah, he knows I'm here now, and that's a little unsettling. Not sure how he got me with that one. I know how he got me with that one. I'm getting careless. But yeah, the game also does a really good job coming up with a variety of levels to go along with an overall theme. So even though, like, all these levels take place within Raleigh's Stronghold, they all feel unique, which is good. And this is just such a cool level, too. That does bring me to one thing that I've always sort of criticized the Sly series for, and that's Sly's weakness to water. For whatever reason, Sly can't swim, so if you fall into water, like if you don't have a horseshoe, he's gonna lose a life. And I've always found that really silly that a character who can do all these amazing physical feats never learned how to swim. And I understand that for, you know, certain people. I was a lifeguard for a long time, so I met people who were in their 90s who had never learned to swim. But for Sly's occupation as a master thief, you would think he would learn how to swim, considering how many places he could infiltrate through the water. It just seems like that would be a really valuable skill. And surely he could find someone who could teach him to do it. Oh, crap. Crap. That was close. Yeah, if he had caught me, he would have taken me out, unless I was close enough to get him with the cane. So, still had to be a little careful. Haha.
Dude, this is the vault, but you need more clues.
I'm not looking for that, dude. Alright, one more level. Thanks for clearing the way, numbnuts. And of course, they do break up the platform with little mini games like this, usually like twin stick shooters, which is alright.
His sunken treasure. Use your sub to blast him. The left analog stick controls the sub. Give it a try.
Game like this.
Use the right analog stick to fire its gun. That's it. Remember, you can always drive the sub in one direction while firing in another. To earn a treasure key, you'll need to collect all 40 chests. Do not let a crab take one into a tube.
You know, I've never piloted a sub before. I once crashed a helicopter in a wave pool, though. Is that the same thing? Yeah, so you want to go for the track chest, but you also want to be sure you take out the crabs when they show up. The less there are on screen, the harder it is for them to overwhelm you when the chests fall. A little bit of multitasking you gotta do, and it gets harder as it goes on. Not a huge fan of these sections of the game, but the thing about Sly is it does understand the game is at its best when you're just doing that great platforming that it does. So stuff like this is kept to a minimum. It's only there to give you a little break from the action so it doesn't get stale. Not that it ever does, given how much variety there is in this game. More. Come on. There we go.
You did it.
Nothing to it. Then again, they were fighting me in the water. That's where I'm at my best. Alright, let's go take on Riley. Cannonball!
How delightful. We have a guest. The only thing is, I hate unexpected guests.
Listen, Raleigh. Wipe up my family and steal what's mine? You better expect company.
Oh, I'm ever so sorry. How sloppy of me not to finish the job. Obviously, we should have snuffed you out as well. So, without further ado, let me make amends by what? Bloating to gargantuan size and squashing you like the insignificant bug that you are!
Bring it on.
You gotta be kidding me. This is what you're gonna try? Alright. Goongala. It's not even satisfying to say. Honestly, the boss fights in Sly Cooper aren't that great. Most of them feel very video gamey, I guess you could say. You just dodge them for a bit, and then when they reveal their weak point, you just attack them. The only one that feels like a dynamic fight is the Panda King, which is the penultimate boss of the game. Yeah, and he's about as threatening as a box full of kittens, too. Ah, crap. Missed him. hug the edge there. Since the platforms are going down, just wait for them to light up. God, that looks silly.
Blast it all! You've beaten me. Well,
How exactly? All I did was whack you with a cane.
Sly Cooper, you're no match for Mugshot, my villainous cohort in Utah. You will see. Mesa City is so well guarded, a snake couldn't slither in without setting off alarms.
Raleigh's section of the Thievous Racoonus held detailed instructions on how to perform my ancestor Ryoichi Cooper's ninja spire jump, a technique he developed while sneaking into the thickly fortified castles of feudal Japan.
Awesome.
Finding a way off Raleigh's boat got a little tricky with the untimely arrival of Inspector Fox, who, failing to find me, busted Raleigh and his crew.
And I always thought it was really clever that the cop that's trying to catch Sly is also his love interest. The cliche of a cop chasing a thief is very common with Phantom Thief stories like this. So I thought that was a good choice. The dynamic between Carmelita and Sly is great, how
excited for our next heist.
they're on opposite sides of the wall, but there is also respect and even a little bit of a romance there too. One of the all-time great couples in any video game, I'd say.
We're all set to go to Mesa City.
Headed to the good old US of A.
It had been a while since I'd been back in the US. Next up, the notorious Mugshot. Ruthless muscle of the Fiendish Five. What he lacked in brains, he definitely made up for in brawn. Turns out he wasn't always that way. He grew up as the run of the litter. A neighborhood weakling. The only friends he could turn to were usually found on the big screen. It was there that he spotted his first gangster, and he knew instantly that that's what he wanted to be. He spent the rest of his youth working real hard to get there, fueled on his dreams of great power and respect. With enough perspiration, he realized that dream. He'd become a hard-boiled, street-brawling, tough-as-nails gangster, ensuring that he'd never be kicked on or pushed around again.
Moral of the story, children. Don't be a bully.
So he's holed up in Mesa City, huh? I've always wanted to go to that thriving American boomtown.
Awesome. God, I love the style of this game.
Hey, Sly, I thought you said Mesa City was going to be loud and busy. This looks more like a ghost town.
Something's happened. Where is everyone?
I don't know, but it's starting to give me the creeps. What do you say we take off?
And miss all the fun? Besides, I want to try out that new move I got from Raleigh's section of the Thievous Racoonus.
You mean the ninja spire jump?
Yeah, do me a favor and read me the instructions again.
To landeth safely upon diminutive points, leapeth lively and presseth the triggering device with the round geometrical object emblazoned upon it.
So jump and hit the circle button to land on narrow spots.
That's a rough translation.
A weird way of breaking the fourth wall for sure. So over the course of the game, you do gain new moves from the Thievous Racoonus, like hopping on small points like this. Though it's not like in a Metroidvania where in previous levels there are places that are inaccessible. Basically, in the first level I just did, there are no points where you would ever use the Ninja Spire jump. So you really don't notice that you don't have it. So it is a cheap way of creating a sense of progression, but it does work. It does feel like you're making progress and growing as a thief too. Different bad guys, different setting, different music. Mugshot has his own plans that differ from Riley's.
In high-tech
It
security,
almost feels like you've started a
electronic
completely new game,
sensors.
doesn't it?
Step on them and you're a goner.
Nice touch.
They're safe to walk on while flashing, but it also means they're about to switch to a different sector.
Like I said, not really a stealth game, just the stealth aspects are just used to create platforming obstacles, like using the laser grids and what have you as hazards. It's not bad design, but it just doesn't make the game a stealth game per se. Nice moves, dude. Okay, this is a little weird. Why aren't these dots anthropomorphized? They're like Pluto in the Mickey Mouse cartoons. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, not much to the combat either. All the enemies die in one hit, so it's not that big a deal. But that's fine. Like I said, Sly Cooper is at its best when you're doing the platforming, so it's nice that they put most of the focus on that. Well, that's close. So is that. Missed. Oh, I just realized that guy's a Dalmatian. That's adorable.
This mugshot certainly isn't shy. Okay, so we know he's here somewhere, but how are we supposed to find him? Mesa City is a big place.
Given that he's a bulldog, it seems only reasonable to assume that he'd choose to live in a giant fire hydrant.
That's some sound logic, Sly. Now you just need
I don't know
to find a
about
way
that.
to break into the building's base.
Oh, I'm sure I'll think of something.
I'd say that's a good place to stop. So yeah, if you can't tell, I really love Sly Cooper. Like, there are very few platformers that are as much fun to play as this game. And when you top that off with a great setting, great characters, an outstanding story, excellent lore, great graphics, great sound, and just, it's just such a well-made game. And it's impressive that they were able to make it for such a minuscule budget. That being said, it isn't perfect. The thing about Sly Cooper is that it is a short game. There are only really 5 levels like what you just saw. And like, as soon as you're getting used to all the variety the game offers, it kind of ends. That's not a big deal, because if you're playing Sly Cooper today, odds are you're playing one of the collections, so you'll begin Sly 2 and 3 as well. But it is something to keep in mind if you want to play the game on hardware. The game is also pretty easy, which doesn't pair well with the short length either, but the game is just so much fun to play. I don't really mind the short length. This is just something that I can pop in, play for a few hours, and then once those few hours are over, I can just move on to other things. So yeah, Sly Cooper, highly recommended. Be sure to check it out if you haven't before. But anyway, that's going to do it for tonight, guys. If you enjoyed tonight's content, please be sure to like and subscribe. I do these videos every week at Saturday nights. Basically what I do is I pick a game and I play for an hour. I do not play games from start to finish unless they're really short, because like the whole purpose of the series is to encourage people to play the games that I'm showcasing, because I feel like you're losing something if you aren't playing the game yourself. No disrespect to people who choose to play games in that manner though. But yeah, that's going to do it for tonight, guys. I'll see you next week.